We'll call the Finance Committee to order on March 26th, 2019 at 7:07. 6, whatever. Guilt. The first thing on the agenda that isn't on the printed agenda, we asked to have the moderator come in and discuss a couple of things with us. He's here. So why don't you come on up?
Sure.
Thanks, Keith.
Pam,
Yes.
can I just interrupt 1 second? Matt wanted to give just a quick couple of highlights. He has to go to the board's meeting.
Sure.
Okay.
Can he have like 5 minutes?
Speak up.
All right, I have gifts for you.
Uh-oh.
Oh my.
Ask me, you shall receive.
You
I
have
don't
a different
embarrass
definition. of
Greetings
gift
and
than some other
salutations. I have a treat.
You are awesome.
Comes
All right.
in many forms.
I will hand it out and try to do a brief overview. I will go into much more depth with the Board of Selectmen. We just happen to be meeting at the same time. And I'm going to organize this the way I want to. And please don't
Okay.
touch my stuff. See all those notes over there that tell you no touch things? Please
I know,
don't.
but I won't.
No. I made enough for you.
Okay.
That's what she is.
I need whatever is not distributed back, because it's what the board is getting. Please take one and pass it around.
One and pass around.
The first page, Madam Chair, that I'm giving out is your projected
Sorry.
revenue budget for, actually, the entire budget forecast period, but most controlling issue would be fiscal 20.
Okay, so you didn't take one, Carol.
Oh,
You gotta take one and pass it around. This is like
Pass
school.
these down
sorry about
to
that.
the next two people.
No, he's got one.
I've got one. Howard's got
Now
one.
you go in the opposite way. This is gonna be a success.
I offered to help.
We'll make it work. We got it.
God, I have a headache. Okay, so this was,
We'll make it work.
Numbers, I like numbers.
oh, Jean, do you see how big this font is? That's what I need. Thank you, Matt.
So that is slightly updated. I think at 2 or 3 meetings ago, I gave you a revenue forecasted number.
Right.
We've tweaked a couple of things. We looked at the Chapter 40B project and the extra building permit revenue it was generating and just broke that out, because as that revenue comes into the town, we will also have some expenses on the budget side that will go away once the revenue goes away. The revenue is not part of the regular course of business, but we feel like that 40B is gonna be on track to finish a phase a year and then be done.
These are extras.
So, yeah, I need those, don't put them on the floor, turn into mush. So that's the revenue forecast. I think that is the major highlight I would call your attention to right away, but you can see, Jean helped organize this table. It flows, so there's 2 pages here, 1, 2 is on the back. So it's gonna flow down. We're gonna start off with our levy capacity. We add last year's new growth to the levy and gross it, calculate our capacity, eliminate the debt exclusions. That revenue is not available to us, it goes to the debt. Then we add our estimated local receipts, a state aid reconciliation. On the back, the assessments are netted out from the cherry sheet. And you have some bond premium, I believe that's associated with our refunding effort or some other aspect of the debt. And we have revenues available for appropriation from those sources, and then anything that's coming in from other funds. We're asking for 20 this year from the Wetlands Conservation Fund instead of 10. That reflects the cost of running that department and the personnel assigned to it. The only other thing that's different there, please note that free cash applied is 0. That's an important aspect of our budget project for the town, is to not utilize free cash for operations. So that's your revenue projection.
Can I just, one question?
Sure.
I would love to have 15 here, only because that was the year before the override. So I'd like to see that number.
20,
Well, you've got the wait a minute, maybe not, hold on.
the override's added on the top.
Yeah. That excluded. Okay, so where's the override? Oh,
So-
okay, 19, gotcha.
19.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, never mind.
The next thing I'm gonna hand around to you, these are bigger, so I'll try to give it to you one at a time. 1, 2, 3, 4,
Now the other way.
I didn't get one.
Oh, you got one?
Yeah.
Okay.
Gotta pass
and one
around.
for the vice chair, but he'll pass down to Carol. Mike,
Carol's got one.
Carol's got one. Okay.
You sure? Paper?
All right, so this closed this afternoon. All right, this is the municipal operating budget request from the administration for every single department, every single line item. Organized as I promised it to you, 5 years of history. So the 2018 numbers are the actuals. Anything that's actual, we pull out to the pennies because that's what we actually closed. We closed to the penny, but when we budget, we only budget to the nearest dollar.
So the 18 is actual?
Yes.
Okay, maybe.
So then you have, the 19 figures are the budget, the 20 figures are the budget request, and everything after fiscal 20 is just a forecast.
Guess.
Our best guess.
Crystal ball numbers.
All right, so this is the municipal operating budget. There isn't anything in this document that relates to the schools or transfer to the schools. This is our side of the budget, all right? I would draw your attention to the last page.
You print and read it all now?
No,
Good.
Good point.
Coloring costs more.
I would ask you just to look at the fiscal 20 column at the bottom. That number, 12,896,741. All right?
What page was that?
The last
Last
one.
page.
Bottom line, that's your bottom line.
Plus capital.
The next handout, this is the same budget shown differently. It's shown by activity code. So you have a budget by department. There's an activity code in a column for every, so one of the biggest ones is 51,100. That's the salaries for management level personnel. This budget shows you 51,100 across all the departments. In the far right-hand side, there's a ranking of the amount of change from one year to the next. So the lower numbers are the accounts that are moving the most. I gave you both a dollar ranking and a percentage ranking. Now, as you can imagine, if we spend $500 on postage one year and 1,000 the next, that's a 100% increase. You shouldn't get too
Don't get
frosted
excited
about that. So there's your, I'll just count them, there's 7 of you.
Plus one.
Plus one.
Four,
Jean's going,
five,
plus one.
6,
Me.
7, and the finance director. I will give that to her myself, since that is a pleasure all of my own. If you turn to page 2, which is the last page of this document, and look at the fiscal 20 column, the number is 12,896,741. It foots
Carol has two.
to the dollar. Funny how that works. Okay?
Are we
Did everyone
missing
get one?
I think it's coming.
You need one?
Dick.
I need one, yeah.
Okay, all
Thank you.
right. So what are we on, page 2? What are we doing?
I have no idea.
I'm just calling out the fact that it foots
Yep.
to the dollar.
89671,
Yep.
741.
Now, because people get excited about this, this is, Jean and I would consider this our masterwork. It's an explanation of the personnel budget. It's a personnel supplement. It explains who is in each activity code for personnel compensation purposes. And then it does a department by department breakout of every single person that receives some money from the town, what they got in fiscal 19, what they will get in fiscal 20 as a result of the leap year, what they will get if they got a step, what they will get if they got a COLA, and then their fiscal 20 base is the addition of all those numbers. All right, so you should note And if there's anything that doesn't match, it's a typo on my part, not a problem with the spreadsheet. But these numbers tie to the accounts in the department budget. Your department by department budget is broken out, it'll say 51,100. It's easy for the selectmen, that's me. So you just match that number in this bottom line, it'll say total, 51,100 for the Board of Selectmen. That is that same line. So everything ties, again, back. This one's a botched copy.
Did you buy another computer to do this now?
3, 4,
Disk maybe?
6, 7. When I'm hungry, I feed it gumdrops. And the last document, last year, in order to conduct the conversation about what will happen if we don't do the override, what will happen if we do the override, we ran scenarios. Scenarios to change the whole financial model based upon some assumptions. That spreadsheet is still active, and that is where I capture the town's local share to the schools, the BBT, and everything else. But you'll notice, halfway down the page, there's a number for the municipal operating budget, 12,896,741. It's a spreadsheet, it all ties together. That number represents a 0.53% increase over last year for the municipal side of the budget. But from there, we have to add local share to the schools, Blackstone Valley Tech, some small items, Blackstone Valley debt, Blackstone Valley stipend.
Can we have that
Many
spreadsheet?
people
don't know.
Yeah.
Well, I'm gonna go through it. The Norfolk Aggie tuition, the abomination of a school transportation contract and its year-over-year absurd 15% increase. And then some quick revenue
Are you
scenarios.
characterizing that now?
I'm editorializing it, because if I produce all this paper, I get to editorialize a little bit. At the very bottom is the forecast. So I closed this budget at a surplus of $3,233, which is, rounding error, whatever.
Pretty close.
And then we forecast out. Every year we forecast out beyond this year shows right now as a deficit, because we haven't done our work yet to close that number. These numbers don't have any free cash in them. So last year when we started the exercise of trying to figure out how much free cash are we actually using, it was, I'm not even gonna venture a number, it was a very large number. It was approaching $1 million, we were on a pace. This is 0. So as we go through, and you'll notice I have health insurance growing at 6% year over year, even if we're in the self-insured group, because that's a conservative estimate. We are still next year, we would start next year 100,000 in the red, we would simply have to get ourselves to balance. Now, in my view of the world, 100,000 is not a lot of money. We have opportunities between top line growth and some cuts that we could do, that we just can't fight every battle all at once here. So that's this. That shows you where we are. When I send you the electronic version, I want to clean it up a little bit because I've made a lot of notes. You'll be able to play with this. You'll be able to change the numbers on this spreadsheet, and it will filter through the entire spreadsheet and give you a new bottom line if you choose to do that. Let me just get this paper around, and then I have a few more comments before I run over to the select. 5, 6, 7, and a copy for Jean. And the original Greek. I have a written budget message that will go with this that makes the following couple of points. This is a pivot year. This is a year you take out the opportunity that's been given to make investments in those things that will reduce the long-term operating costs of the town, so that when the impact of the override starts to be diluted by the passage of time, you have put the town on a footing where it's less expensive to operate. There are also some other conventions that occurred over the years in terms of managing personnel. And what you kind of seem to have done is, the metaphor that kept coming to my mind when I wanted to talk about this is, the person who puts their hand over the hornet nest over the hole in the hornet nest.
You can't let go.
Right, you did that so the kids could get away, but now what? Right, so as soon as you let your hand off, all the hornets come out. That's kind of where we are. We've got some thorny issues. This is the year to address them, to fix them. There aren't a whole lot of changes that, in my opinion, were truly necessary. When you look at the COLAs and the steps and the personnel supplement, you'll see very few people changed much. We have two recommendations that I feel we really need to address. We need to address the impact of the Pay Equity Act between a couple of our department heads. That would result, we're not going to take anybody down, we will take one person up, who in my opinion performs a comparable job to a male counterpart, who at this point is receiving $4,900 less compensation. So it is my intent to bring the director of the senior center to the same pay grade as the library director. That's just a recommendation I'm willing to make. The other recommendation I feel like I have to make is that all of our department heads with significant assets under management and significant responsibilities for managing people are at Management 5, Step 10, if they're in the table, or their salary through their contract somehow relates them back to Management 5, Step 10, except for the chief of the fire department, who is paid, this year would be paid $10,000 less than his colleagues with similar responsibilities, and about $20,000 less than many comparable fire chiefs in the immediate area. My proposal to the Board of Selectmen would be to bring the chief to the same level as the highway superintendent and the finance director and the town engineer. Management 5, Step 10. That's a significant bump in terms of a difference between one year and the next. If he had been put on the Management 5 scale when he started as chief, this year he would be at Management 5, Step 9. So, in my judgment, millions, almost $2 million worth of assets under management, 7 full-time professional firefighters, and he himself is a certified paramedic. I want our people to stay with us. We have a fantastic team, and asking for about $14,000 in adjustments for management level staff on a almost $13 million budget, I think is a defensible move in order to keep our team together. So that concludes my overview of the budget. I anticipate you have lots of questions and comments, but we needed to kind of kick this along. I hope you understand why it took me so long. We only got final insurance numbers Friday afternoon. So I worked over the weekend to try to get this to you. I hope it meets your requirements. Madam Chair, thank you for taking me first. I'm going to go next door to your colleagues.
Thank you.
When will we get the opportunity for the questions?
How early you get up tomorrow morning? Call me, it's, 8, give me a chance to sit down, 8:30?
Okay.
8:31?
Okay. Okay.
Or I answer email all the time.
Okay.
We also have a meeting next week.
We're gonna be having a meeting on the 2nd, I think, so.
Yep. You're here next week, Howard.
Ma'am?
Yes.
I'm sorry, it occurred to me, the articles,
They're on hold, so
are they here?
yeah.
Okay, thank you.
No, the ones Bill's are gonna, the articles Bill will speak to tonight are gonna be here, the other articles are not here.
Okay, I thought that it was possible to get articles before, like, town meeting.
No.
No, you'll get them Tuesday.
We were only having the ones Bill was, we moved Bill up a week because he couldn't attend.
Yes, I
April 2nd
recall.
was really the,
Right, but I thought we were gonna get, we understand that they're draft and that they haven't been approved by the board.
right,
I
but
thought they were at
we're
least gonna
working on
get-
language right now. We moved it up a week only for Bill.
Okay.
Because Bill could not attend April
Okay.
2nd.
Cool. All right.
Are you able to give us 15 minutes next Tuesday?
It would be helpful, yeah.
Matthew?
What?
I'm sorry. Are you able to give us 15 minutes in a public forum next Tuesday?
I've been planning to, for another board meeting. Well, yeah,
I'd certainly rather do it in a public forum.
I mean, if you could indulge me and start your meeting at 6:30 instead of 7, we could,
I have no idea whether we can do that or not. I have
Sure.
people coming from all over the place now,
So-
so.
Sure.
ask them if they can, or I'll ask the, well, if the
Okay.
board starts early, it doesn't help.
Yeah.
It only
Yeah,
helps
we'll
if you start.
address it that way.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. What did you have in mind?
I just wanted to have an opportunity to ask him specific questions about what he just presented.
Oh, right.
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 Much more than just in an
Anticipating
email
that
or
they're, okay.
in a one-on-one. I think it's more a public forum issue.
Oh, absolutely.
So
Yeah.
it sounds like, to the extent as we get into new business or old business on the agenda, we may bring in the issue of whether or not, well, you can make next week's meeting, but to the extent we can get a quorum at 6:30, 6:45,
Yeah.
and have the opportunity to get a few minutes from
Mm.
him before he's got the Board of Selectmen meeting, that would be useful.
That would work.
Yep.
Okay, let us move on, because we have our moderator sitting here waiting to
Yes.
patiently have a seat up here.
Did you want to take the chief first?
No, you're sitting here, I mean, I can. Okay, Chief, come on up.
Come on up.
How's everyone tonight?
We're good.
Yourself?
Not too bad. So I haven't met some people, so
Oh,
I'm
why
the
don't we
local fire
introduce-
chief, Ken Vincent. I know Dick, because
We
he's a
didn't import
marathoner,
him
or
from
was a
anywhere.
marathoner.
Retired, yeah.
Yeah,
And so this is,
Heather Moore.
nice to meet you.
Lynn Mazzoli.
Nice to meet you.
do you have the rest of us oldies?
And I know Mike and
Howard
Oldies,
D'Amico.
if it
Howard
is.
D'Amico, absolutely. All right, so, hopefully you got my little presentation here in regards to the fire department. It's fire and EMS. Basically, we have two departments. One, we have, and they're two separate budgets. And one of, the ambulance budget is actually, a majority of the money that's in the ambulance budget is funded through ambulance receipt for appropriation. So money that we are able to collect from insurance companies goes into that fund, and we allocate a good portion of the budget with that. So, the fire department, obviously, we fight fires, and we do a lot of fire prevention and whatnot. But I like to equate it more with an all hazards department. It used to be years ago, the fire department just only fought fires. Now we're doing all types of things. We're doing trench rescue, confined space rescue, hazardous materials response, things like that. We're trained to the FRO level, which is first responder level. If we had a hazardous material, we can tier things up and bring in a state hazmat team where there would be an encapsulated suits and things like that. So there's a lot of responsibility, and it's something that's evolving as we go. On the first page with the fire, I'm going to start off with personnel. The fire and EMS department is currently staffed by 8 full-time firefighter paramedics. That's myself included. So seven, I should say, full-time firefighters and paramedics. We have 4 paramedics and myself, and we have 3 basic EMTs.
How does that compare to historical numbers? Is that high, low, average? What would you say?
Well, we went a couple of years ago, we went 24/7, and what we did was we paired up a basic EMT with a paramedic, and that was to spread our paramedics out so we had the 24/7 coverage.
Can I just?
Yep.
The spreadsheet here will show you that so you can compare, because it's hard to, when you have no reference.
I understand. It's a learning curve for you folks too. As far as the new spreadsheet.
Oh, yeah, well, what we like to look at is the spreadsheet to see the changes that have occurred over the recent past.
Right. So, you'll see that there was a bump in salaries, and when we went 24/7, obviously it cost more money to do that, but it's spread out over between both departments. So we have 13 call firefighters and EMTs, and we have 1 administrative clerk, assistant, that handles the administrative work of the department, and also she works with billing in the billing company as well. So if you look at the top there, basically there's a breakdown, more or less pyramid. You have your chief at the top, we have 1 call deputy fire chief, 2 call captains, 3 full-time lieutenants who are paramedics, and we have 4 full-time firefighter EMTs, and there's also another paramedic there who's not a lieutenant. We also have 2 call lieutenants and 7 call firefighter EMTs. So salaries for FY '20, item code number 51100 is the chief's salary per contract. The town administrator's proposed budget for the fire chief would be $50,320. That's split between fire and EMS, so there will be another $50,000 on the other side when we get to the EMS part, the ambulance part. We also have the clerk, who's 51111. She works 30 hours a week. On the fire side, she makes $18,069, and her salary is also split between fire and EMS. The next are the full-time salaries. Per the contract, you have 1 lieutenant on the fire side who is making $71,558. You have 2 firefighter EMTs. One's making $49,000. And this is basically broken down to the day. It just so happens that it's a leap year. One's making a little bit more because he worked an extra shift that the other crew didn't. They're basically at the same rate of pay. And then we have 1 firefighter EMT who's a step 5. He's got a lot more experience, so he's at $52,528. And we have call firefighter. That's the part-time firefighters. They're the call per diem firefighters. There's $46,869 in funds in the 51200 category. 20,000 of that is we added training. We added money for training. It used to be they weren't getting trained, and we added 20,000 to the budget last year so that when they train twice a month, they're actually getting paid for the hours that they're there. And then we have overtime of $36,300. That's broken down between holidays, and also they're under what's called FLSA. They don't get overtime after 40 hours. They get overtime after working 228 days, I'm sorry, 200, that'd be nice. After 212 hours in a 28-day period, then they get overtime. So if their scheduled shifts, they're at 212 hours. So during a month, they would get 3 or 4 hours of overtime that's already scheduled because that's the way their schedule falls.
Chief, can I just ask you, you talk about the part-time firefighters, and I went back to the sheet before, and I can't figure out what the part-time firefighters are, or the number.
Okay, it's 51200. That's the item number. And it says PT firefighters.
How many are there?
I believe there's 13.
I mean, I see 13 call firefighters.
Right.
Okay.
So,
But then I see call deputy chief. Is that one of those?
Yeah, well, no, I don't count him as that, but yes.
So it's, you see what I'm saying? It's hard to pull that out, that
Okay.
number out. So just
Well,
for
that's
clarity.
fine. But
okay?
that's why I tried to list it as, or on the previous page,
Yeah.
I broke it down as call captains, to have a call deputy, 2 call captains, and whatnot. So I'll try to make that a little bit more understandable in
Yeah.
the
If you
future.
got part-time here and call up here, it's.
Okay,
is
I
that
get the
same?
drift. Yeah, it's the
Okay.
same thing.
yeah,
Part-time and call are the ones
Okay.
that, they have their
But you
pager
just
on,
said
they're
you
at
don't
home,
do
they come.
the deputy chief, you don't do it that way.
Right.
So,
Okay.
again, for clarity's sake.
All right, that sounds fine.
so,
And, go
I'm
ahead.
just curious, like, how many, it appears that most of the firefighters are also paramedics, right? Are they?
Most are EMTs.
Or EMTs?
We have,
Okay. All right, but most of them, because we have 8 full-time firefighters and then 4 and 3 is 7, so we have 15 full-time people?
no, we have 8 full-time people, 7,
Okay.
and then plus 1 myself, so
Oh,
it's 8.
okay, because when you look here, it looks like you got 4 full-time firefighters, then you got 3 full-time lieutenants, then I thought the 8
Well, I
was
broke
added
it, I
to
tried to break it down by pay grade so that you could see what everybody was getting at certain steps.
Oh, okay, so
So
On the
that,
first
that
page.
8 is made up of the 3 full-time lieutenants, the 4 full-time
Correct.
firefighters, and the chief.
So that's
They-
not in addition to the 8 of them?
Correct.
No, no,
Okay.
it's kind of a combination,
Yeah,
and
okay.
I think to
Okay.
Pam's point, the other ones that are call, if you add those up, because you've got the call deputy chief, the 2 call captains,
Correct.
the 2 call lieutenants, and the 7 call firefighters dash EMTs, that only gets you to 12, whereas up above it says 13 call
Right.
firefighters and EMTs.
Right,
Correct?
yeah. Okay,
I defer to you.
all right, so, and then after that, I'll try to make that a little bit more understandable next time, be a little bit more consistent. After that, we have the overtime at 36,300. And I was tracking as far as some of that is scheduled overtime, but the way their schedule also works is sometimes they get maybe 12 hours in, after 9 weeks. The way the schedule is, they'll get 12 hours.
Yeah.
Because it's actually way over the 212, so. And then,
So I'm looking at the historic overtime,
mm-hmm,
and it really took a jump from here to here.
it did because we added
We
four,
added more people?
we added full-time help.
Okay.
We added three EMT basic positions when we went 24/7.
Oh, that's the key, isn't it?
Yeah, those are, if you're looking at 17 and 18, that's around the time frame that we jumped from,
Yeah, I
you
think
know,
it was,
not
it
having round-the-clock coverage.
was actually January of 17
Yeah.
that was the case.
It was a mid-year change.
Yep.
Yep.
And then finally, we have stipends that are $5,000. Now, the deputy chief gets a stipend of $2,000. And we have an inspector, lieutenant, who does all the fire inspections, he gets $1,500 stipend. And we have a training officer gets a $1,500 stipend. So that equals $5,000. And those are those are in the contract. So the total there for expenses, I should say salaries, is $378,267. So then the fire expense budget for FY '20, we start out with the electric, which is $9,078. Heating is $15,000. Other utilities, which is our water bill, we get a water bill from the town that's $400. Repairs and maintenance, which is 52400, we have $20,000. That covers all the repairs and maintenance for all the fire apparatus. If we have anything wrong with a pump, truck needs tires, anything like that, it falls on that. Also, that would include my cruiser. Then we also have repairs and maintenance for the boiler that's in the station, the compressor that fills our air bottles, and the generator that's outside. It's a backup generator so that if we lose power, we're still able to operate. Advertising, $400. We usually put that in there. We've had some turnover over the last couple of years. We lose a paramedic because he goes to somewhere else, to another department, and then we have to advertise to pull that, try to get replace that position. So, course reimbursement. This is something that's new to the contract. It was right now. In their contract, they get a reimbursement of $3,000. Each member gets a reimbursement. However, I watched the tape for the police chief. We're in the same boat. Our contract was modeled very closely to the police contract, so they have to let me know if they intend to take a class on December, like this past December 1st. They had to let me know that was the case. So I had 2 people there, and I'm taking some classes myself. So that's what those 3 are.
Yeah, it's a bit more than last year, right?
It is, because they didn't have that in their contract.
Yeah.
That's new to their contract this year.
Gotcha.
All right. Physicals, health and wellness. You're gonna see I put in, that's a jump. I think it was $500 before. And the reason we have to do that is by law, firefighters have to pass a physical agility test and a human resources development, which is a state mandated physical. They're not cheap. So we usually put enough money in there for one.
and that's for initial hires. I think this past year, we actually had to hire 2 people, so we had to put 2 people through, so. And as far as, and that's actually, I wrote it down, but I can't remember where I put it. But back in like 97, 98, the state came out and mandated that we had to do that annually. And then there was you know, people that fought it and whatnot. Towns didn't have the money to do that, and so they basically, we haven't been doing it. Like if I hire a new person that's a call person, I'll say to them, have you had your physical yet this year? If not, go see your doc because they'll do it for free. And as long as they do the same paperwork that we send them to the academy with, they sign off on those 3 forms, which are the state forms, then we're good. So it doesn't really cost us any money. You'll notice this is the next thing down. I have early detection physicals and scans. That's the jump that you see. I had talked to Matt about that. Something that is very important is firefighters and police have, at least I don't know what the statistics are for police, but firefighters have a 67% chance of getting cancer or a cardiac problem, and it's related to, that's job related. They recognize, the studies have been done, and it's called the presumption law. They just passed it as well for cancer. So there's a company that does full body scans. They do a stress test on an annual basis, and it's based on early detection. They would much rather pay $550 a guy and detect something early that might not have even been known than pay hundreds of thousands of dollars in chemotherapy or whatever. If we can get it early, then that money to me is worth it, and hopefully it helps keep our insurance down in town as well, as far as for our employees. So I had put in this company that does it. It's called LifeScan. For $550 a person, they'll come in and do a stress test. They do ultrasounds of your thyroid, of your carotid artery, everything from head to toe.
They mail out to the general population as well.
Right.
I went to that once, I wondered how useful it was, frankly.
So Chief, you don't have a number here. I guess it would be 5,500.
It's 5,500. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I thought I originally broke it down that way, but it's 500 plus the 5,500. I mentioned 10 positions.
Yeah.
I really would like to get the full-time members, because they're doing this all the time, checked. And then I've got a couple of like my lieutenant, I should say, my Captain Furno and the deputy chief, who've been exposed for 20, 30 years because I've been doing it. Those are the people I'm more concerned and worried about. So I'm sure down the line we'll try to do other things, but we got to start somewhere.
So they won't do this yearly, huh?
Yes.
Are you sure this LifeScan thing is any good? Like I said, I went to it, I thought it was a joke.
I
So,
don't think
I
it's a
don't know.
joke. I don't think it's a joke.
I wanna get back up from actual
think they're more
physicians
asked.
and seeing what they really think of this LifeScan thing. You know, they have it over at the senior center, you go over there and you do this stuff, and you pay them, I don't know, at that time it was like $300. A friend of mine talked me into going there, I don't know what I think of this. I think this is a joke.
Well, this was geared. This was at the professional development conference, the
Yeah.
Chiefs conference. They were actually giving scans of your thyroid and your carotid artery. But again, this is a head-to-toe thing where you're actually getting on a treadmill. They're giving you an EKG. They're doing tests that you wouldn't normally give in a regular physical. And to me, that's where you find things. I mean, when you bring somebody on the department, a person could have cancer and you never even know it because they're not looking for it, you know, or it hasn't reached that point where it's triggered all the warning signs yet. And so for me,
And a lot of times it's too late
I
at
think,
that
and
point.
that's my point, is like, I'd rather detect something early, get someone the treatment they need early.
Yep.
And again, because of the type of smokes that they're exposed to and whatnot, I just think I thought it was a good idea.
It behooves us to take care of the
No,
people
I
who
think
are-
it's a good idea to have the physicals and stuff, I just think,
This was a company that does specific, and the reason they're as low as they are for firefighters is because the woman and the founder was actually rescued in a fire.
Oh,
So
wow.
she feels like she's giving back, and that's why there's no way, the tests that they give, there's no way, it'd be a $10,000 bill to get all those tests done. So it was something I had talked to Matt out, he thought it was important, so I figured, well, we'll throw it in the budget and see where it goes. Training and seminars, these,
Gene, there's no number beside this either, no account number.
Training center?
53012, the training and seminars.
No, I'm talking about the early detection
Oh.
physicals.
Oh, that was-
53011.
Yeah, it's part of the same.
Yeah.
Okay, thank
Yeah.
you.
Training and seminars, this is seminars that I go, professional development seminars. There's a lot of good stuff through Fred Pryor as well, that really help with managing and things like that. Professional development conferences, funds that help you, stay stay in the game and continue to progress forward. Sometimes it might include books or different department training, whatever. Telephone, $1,200. That's the phone at the fire station. 53404 is my cell phone. Other services, this is one of the big ones, other services. It's $16,300. And that's basically a lot of the annual service contracts, and one of them is TriTech that we split between fire and EMS. It says NFIRS there. That's the National Fire Reporting System. We're required to do that by law if we're to get any federal funds. If we don't report that way electronically to the feds and to the state, no grant money. So, I am responding is a different type of paging system that we use. We carry our pagers, but our pagers, like say if I'm at Home Depot in Oxford, I'm probably not gonna hear my pager. But this goes right to your cell phone. We all know everyone has their cell phone. So if you have a structure fire and they're at Home Depot, they know, we gotta get back to town, And then the other thing that it does is when I walk in the station or I pick up my phone, I can look. They press a button on their phone, on their app, and I can see how many firefighters I have en route to the call. So that's very helpful to know what you have for help coming. We've done that for, I think this is our third or fourth year with that. Service contracts for the generator, the compressor, inspection stickers, inspection stickers for the fleet. Our trucks, they're like $100 per truck. It's not just the regular 35. So we pay a yearly rental fee. This is where our septic pumping falls in. We haven't had any issues with that. We did hook up the washer, the extractor, and that's been working fine. So hopefully maybe that's cleaning out pipes with some water that's actually coming through. Also annual ladder testing. We have to have our ladders tested on a yearly basis per NFPA. That's NFPA 1983. And also our pumps. We have to test the pumps on a regular basis. If there's any deterioration in the PSI that they can put out or the gallonage that they can put out, then we obviously have to address that. We did have to repack a couple of pumps, which is basically putting cork in the spindle so it doesn't leak, or water doesn't all leak out. And they can actually make adjustments each year. So that costs us some money. Office supplies.
How many fire trucks do we have?
Let's see, we have 4 frontline pieces. We've got a tanker that's 2,500 gallons a minute. I should say 2,500 gallon tanker. It carries that much water. It's got a 1,250 gallon pump. That's what we're gonna pump per minute. We have an aerial, a ladder truck, which has a pump on it as well. That pumps 1,500 a minute, but it also has a 75-foot stick, an aerial to go to the roof. What else about the ladder truck?
And are they all running pretty well?
Yeah.
And in good shape?
The oldest one just turned 20. It's a 1999. That's the one that sort of got bumped to the side when we put the new one in. We have a new one that's a 17. That's a 1,500 gallon per minute pump. It carries 1,000 gallons of water and it carries 20 gallons of foam. So foam is actually mixed with water in a percentage, and for a Class A fire, which is a house fire, you might use foam to prevent hot spots or prevent reignition, things like that. So we carry foam. And then we also have, that's engine 1. Engine 1 is the 20-year-old one. It's in good shape. I just put tires on the front of it. They were the original tires on the front, 20 years old. So we have 4 frontline pieces. We have a couple of offline off-road tankers that are used for brush season. So we can go in the woods, mow down trees if we have to, and get access. And then we have a brush truck, which is a 2007 F-350 with a skid load in the back of the pump. So,
Maybe you could get us a sheet of paper with your trucks,
absolutely.
the years of the
Absolutely.
years,
Yep.
and what each of them is
Yep.
primarily used for, kind of thing.
Chief Gone, you got the ladder truck on a grant. I can't believe it's
Yeah.
Yeah.
14 years ago now, but it was done on a grant. It was $500,000 back then. It was done on a grant. It was
Yeah.
the federal grant that we apply for every year. So
And that's the one we can go up to like 60 feet or something, right? on that?
75.
75, so we
It's a
could
75 foot.
have 60-foot industrial buildings if
Correct.
All of them,
somebody wanted to come in.
all of them.
All the 60-foot industrial buildings.
All of the
bring 'em
industrial
in.
buildings that we have.
Well, that doesn't mean we won't get them.
This is true, we plan
Well,
ahead.
be honest with you, any house fire that's above that's 2 stories will
Right,
go
yeah.
into the roof right off the bat. And chimney fires they're really
good,
great for
yeah.
chimney fires too. So as long as we have access. Sometimes you have wires in the way and you don't really have access. So that's where we're at as far as the apparatus.
Okay, thank you.
Custodial supplies, pretty much self-explanatory. Vehicle supplies, that would include batteries, fluids, wipers, multiple lights. Every time you turn around, there's a light that goes out. Now the newer trucks are more LED, they last a lot longer than the halogen. I just replaced 2 lights on the ladder truck. And it's 2 scene lights, and it was $700 for 2, which was cheap. I mean, if you have to shop around, or someone's going to take you for a ride. But and the other thing that's there is we buy a lot of car soap to wash to keep the apparatus clean, so that they're not rotting away with salt and things.
You're
like that.
not having car washes down there.
No. If anyone has a car wash, they bring their own soap and their own hose. Fuel, pretty much self-explanatory. That was calculated from Matt's gas and diesel fleet inflation chart based on, I forgot to write the number down. I forget. I thought it was 2,500 gallons or something like that last year. Food, I have $200 in there for food for long duration emergencies that we can't forecast. It seems whenever you get something that you're not expecting, it happens to be on a day that all the pizza shops are closed. But, so we have a couple $100 in there for that. Thankfully, a lot of these fires, they'll send a canteen truck, where you can request a canteen truck.
Really?
Sometimes a bologna sandwich tastes like a steak sandwich. Other supplies, 55800, miscellaneous items funded through, would include badges, patches, assorted hardware, household batteries, things like that. Just the batteries, we can, our SCBA our air packs that we wear on our backs, they have a device in them called a pass device. They take a number of household C batteries. So we're replacing those from time to time. And what that is if a firefighter goes down and he's motionless for 30 seconds, then it's an alarm that goes off that lets you know somebody's in trouble. So. Uniforms and clothing. It's $4,500 there. I have that split between fire and EMS for the 8 full-time members. They get $1,000 per member for a clothing allowance. In-state travel, we have $900. That can fluctuate if we have someone travel into the academy that they have to spend fuel of their own money to go for fuel.
Where's the academy located?
We've got 2 actually that are the state. One's in Stowe, Mass, and one's in Springfield, and they're looking to open another one now in East Bridgewater. They're right across from the prison. They're opening. It used to be a hospital or some type of a hospital barracks or whatever. Maybe it was like a DYS campus. It was something very similar to that. But they're opening another one. So, and then we have a satellite that they use in Fall River. It's a Fall River Fire Department, and they have a training facility there that we'll use. We'll run one class out of there. Right now, you have some full-time recruit, which is a 400-hour training class where you completely go there for 10 weeks, 8 hours a day. Then you have one that we send a lot of our call people through, where they do, it's a 240 hours, the same certification at the end, but it's more tailored for those who work during the day, and they can go to a couple night classes and then an all-day class. So. Training and education, travel, we'll put 500 for there. I think a couple of conferences, we might get a hotel if it's a distance away. That's about the size of that. Usually a reimbursement type of thing. Dues and membership, we have $4,000. We have annual dues to the District 7 Chiefs, which is an organization, it's an association that's made up of 25 towns. It's run, most of the chiefs of each department in the area are members of it. We conduct a lot of training. We just had a training on PTSD the other night. We flew a gentleman in from South Carolina. But we also have, this is more or less, I know Pam, your regionalization. This is more some regionalization training. We have our dive team and our tech rescue team. So if we have a high angle rescue or a dive, we dispatch dive teams from the area. And there's dive teams, like we have 3 divers on our department. We have some rescue technicians, we have some hazmat techs, things like that. So the district benefits from that. We pay dues to be part of that, and receive the training that we do through them. We also have the District 7 Radio Committee, which also funds some radio if you have a large incident, like our tornado type thing. If that was a bigger tornado, they can bring in a van and they can patch everybody into everyone's radio frequencies, so everyone can talk face to face. FTAM, that's the membership, my membership to the Massachusetts Fire Chiefs Association. We also pay for the National Fire Protection Association dues. We get a lot of their stuff online, so we know what their standards are. We can look them up. I actually had a more intense membership when we had the schools, when we had the school project. There was a lot of stuff that might have been over my head. I wanted to know that stuff, so having that stuff right there and be able to pull it right up on your computer in your office was a good thing. And then finally we have gym memberships. That's the other thing, very much similar to the police. The full-timers have gym memberships that they can apply for. Reimbursement, I think it's $475 per member. Additional equipment, that would be boots, gloves, structural gear, wildland gear, helmets, things like that. And like if something gets, I try to schedule some stuff in there to be replaced on a regular basis. The last time we got our turnout gear, we were able to get a grant through the Assistance of Firefighters grant, and then the Wallem Lake Fund, when they came out with an earmark a few years ago. We split that with police and the school. We were able to get some more gear out of that. Then we have replacement equipment. Some of that's maybe damaged gear, things like that. Worn out equipment, hoses, axes, other tools that might break. So the tally for the expenses on the fire department is $114,253. You add up the $378, $267, the $114, $253. You come up with $492,520 for the fire department.
And what was it the year before? It's really grayed out on my,
You know, I think
It looks like
it's a little bit different.
510,
510, 48,
It depends on how they split them between the two.
Yeah, this is a different year.
Yeah.
And talking to Matt, the way he wanted to do it this year, so it sort of skews it a little bit. But I thought it was in the area of 373 last year. You know what? Let me see if I have it. I have it here. I have last year's budget sheet.
Well, it's
No.
Sometimes don't you kind of kinda tweak them, sometimes more's on the fire, or a little change.
Yeah, well,
Basically,
what we-
you gotta add together the fire and the
In-
highway.
Yeah, so-
I mean, the fire
In
and
the
the
ambulance,
Last
right.
year's fire and ambulance,
Yeah.
you're at 892,
Right.
816. So
Right.
then if we do take that and then we back out the 423,034 for the ambulance, and then back out our 492, 520 for the fire, you're left with an increase between the two budgets of less than $25,000. So it's 22,700 is what your increase is between the two
And
departments.
those are basically contractual. One of the biggest things that I should talk about
$22,700.
while we're here, as far as this, because it doesn't really show out there. Well, it does, if you look at the lieutenant paramedics on the fire side, actually the lieutenant paramedics, they were getting, to be a they were getting 50 cents more an hour to be a lieutenant. And to me, to have that responsibility didn't match. So I had talked to Matt about it. Because it might be where I'm not on the station or the deputy's out of town, now they're in charge of an incident. That's for 50 cents an hour? So, we had talked to that, and so what we're trying to do is, not all at once, but gradually move them up to where a police sergeant would be. But it's gonna take a number of years to do that, so. That's where we're at as far as that goes. And then the other thing I wanted to mention was, the way Matt wanted to break it up was because it's ambulance receipts for appropriations on the ambulance side. And we're actually billing and we're paying out for paramedic services on the ambulance side. So therefore, you would try to put a paramedic on each shift. So there's always a paramedic doing that assessment, because we're charging more for the assessment for Medicare and whatever billing. So he thought it would make sense to put the paramedic, 3 paramedics on the ambulance side, and then there was 1 on the fire side. So that's how that works.
Now, are some of these paramedics, are they firefighters as well, or?
They're all firefighters.
They're all
So they're all
firefighters.
cross-trained, yes.
So if there's a big fire, they can go out
Correct.
on that? Oh, okay.
Correct. Yes, we cross-train them,
Yeah.
which is why they gotta go through the academy.
Yeah.
Because we're trying to get the most bang for our buck,
Yeah,
you know?
so they're able to do both,
Correct.
yeah.
Yeah. And it makes it nice, because sometimes if you have a fire, you're trying to keep your ambulance staffed as well. So if you can call in guys you know are paramedics to cover the ambulance, number one, for the safety of the citizens of the town, but also to try to have the firefighters on the fire going safe. So normally what I do as well is, most of the fire departments around are paramedic based as well. They do the same thing. We have a big fire, guess what? We're all at the fire. So Webster, who's strictly ambulance, we pull them in to cover to cover
So
us.
they have 2 separate departments?
Yes, they're 2 separate departments.
So they're ambulance people, do not fight fires.
No, they don't. So. Okay, so that brings us to the ambulance budget. Again, there's the other half of my salary that has been proposed by the town administrator. There's the clerk again. She makes a little less on the ambulance side. You'll notice on the other side, I think she's maybe a couple of $1,000s more, and the reason for that is, this time of the year, it's like a birthright in Douglas, people get to burn. So we gotta give out burning permits, and that's what she does on Saturday. She comes up and keeps track of the burning permit. We have to record them every day when people call. We have to say, you know, she calls me, can we burn today? And I have to judge the weather and decide, okay, is it safe to burn today or is it not? So, and then she'll sit there for up until 1 o'clock. We don't issue them after 1 o'clock. At 1 o'clock, she'll go home, but she'll have the list, so we'll know who's burning in town. So if we get a call, we know where we're going, so.
How much is the permit?
It's $10 for the season,
Oh,
so.
and the season
The
starts.
season
in
is January 15th to May 1st.
Okay.
So we're gonna get busy up in the next month, because people are gonna stop burning.
Should get myself one of those.
It always ends the day before you want to burn it.
Or it gets real dry, and then the chief won't let anyone burn the last week, and then they always say, are you gonna extend the season? I don't
Yeah,
have
they've
the
got brush
authority to do
fires
that.
day after day, yeah.
I don't have the authority to do that, that's the state, okay? So,
Rent a chipper.
That's it.
Okay, let's buzz through this. We got
Yep.
our moderator waiting.
All right, so full-time salaries, you'll see, you have 2 lieutenant paramedics in the 51110. And again, they're only off a little bit because one worked a 24 shift more than the other one, so. Then you have 1 paramedic who is not a lieutenant. What I do is I try to move him around. He's the junior guy. So when a guy goes on vacation, he covers over there. And that works, and it saves us money, so. And then we have per diem EMTs. Since we went full-time, they're a dwindling breed, but some of the, a lot of our call firefighters are. So we've got a couple guys out injured. They helped us out, hopped right in, and we were able to pay them, and they were able to help us keep us staffed. Overtime, we have 30,000 on that side as well. And stipends, 4,500. The stipends for this would be a safety officer, much like I know the town administrator mentioned to you folks about Adam. Adam is the safety officer for the town for OSHA. Adam, this gentleman is for our department. He has certain things he has to make sure that we get. We didn't used to have to be fit tested for N95 masks. Now because of OSHA, we have to be fit tested. So there's a number of things that we have to do since OSHA that we have to do now. So he's going to be in charge of that. And basically, we got rid of our ALS coordinator. That falls on the EMS coordinator. They don't get any more money. So it was the same stipend, so we just made him the safety officer instead of the ALS coordinator. And that's those 2 stipends. So that's 329,621. The next slide is a slide I put in there. It's proposed.
Slide.
It's the
The wish list.
it is. It's the wish slide. It's the can't say I never asked slide if something goes wrong. So that's why that's there. It's currently not funded. I get it. I also get the. I had that in the budget last year, but I didn't include it in the numbers this year. I just included 1 slide for it. Repairs and maintenance, we lowered that from 10,000 to 7 rather. We're looking at, we've got a new ambulance. We've also, we can talk about this after if you have any questions. We're looking at another one through a grant from the state and also some free cash.
Yeah, we already received
We received an earmark from the state for $100,000, so we're not gonna pass up on that, so.
How many ambulances does the town have?
This
9.
is 2. 2. 9 would be nice. 1 for everybody. I'll even give you,
One for each.
Tim, I'll even give you 1 to take home.
Thank you.
Probably gonna need them all when everybody's stoned right as you're done.
This is true. Oh, no, don't shut that door.
Oh, they're so loud now.
So
I know,
that's
they
where
can
we're
be
at as
quiet.
far as, we lowered that because we figure if we have newer vehicles, I just put a number in there, figuring if somebody runs over a curb and blows out a couple,
Yeah.
And then also, we're proposing that the next one be a gas ambulance. I tried to get a gas last year, they wouldn't provide them. You only
Gas.
could get diesel.
Propane?
Gas, no, gas only. I want the same motor that they have on the highway. They're in the 1-ton dump trucks. They weren't available for ambulances, which made no sense because they were available for the van ambulances that had the box,
Yep.
but not the F-series cab. So I've been assured this year that it's available now. And I said, well, are we talking first generation? I don't want to go there.
Right.
No, this is a proven engine, so. And talking to the mechanic, they're cheaper to give oil changes to, they're cheaper to work on, they're cheaper parts. So that's a win. So, we'll see where that goes. Professional tech, 17,613, that's our billing company. They pay whatever they bring in for us. They get paid based on the percentage of what they bring in.
If I may.
Yep.
Does anybody have any specific questions on the expense lines on the ambulance?
Just one. The billing is for the transportation of a
Correct.
patient to the
Yeah.
hospital or whatever, and you bill the insurance company.
Right.
Do you do it by, if you have a whole family, you know, carbon monoxide, that happened to my family once in town here, you probably responded.
Probably.
Do you,
If it's within the past 22 years, I might
Yes.
have.
so you bill per person in the ambulance? Okay.
Yeah. It used to be we would try to take a couple people in the ambulance. The state's trying to get away from that. You think about if people are bleeding, cross-contamination, no, they don't want to do that anymore.
No, anything else?
I mean, everything looks pretty
Right,
static
yeah, it's
compared
really,
with the previous
right,
years,
yeah.
so.
Good explanations here.
Yep.
Right.
We can kind of
Anything
read
else for
through
the
it.
chief?
Let's, no, there's nothing else. So the total on the ambulance budget request is 423,034.
You
Looks
press
like.
That's it.
Yeah, yeah.
The 2% increase.
Yeah.
So did you have anything else
Yeah.
specific, chief, that you wanted to bring up or to?
Not
review?
really. I think at some point, I just asked Matt on the way out, I said, at what point do you want to talk about capital? Would that be your next meeting? We'll talk about, I don't have any real specifics, I just know that we've ranked our projects the other night, and we're meeting tomorrow to try to figure out how we're gonna present that to the town
We
meeting.
can look at the agenda for the second.
Okay,
Yeah, I don't have it on tonight's.
so I'll be here that night, it's your hearing that night, correct?
Okay, are you talking for the fire
Board of Health
department or?
No, I'm talking,
He's on the
Capital committee.
Yes, I know
Capital
that.
committee.
I saw, all right, yeah, the capital is not tonight.
That's
Chief.
fine.
Thank you for asking.
so I didn't have anything outside of, if you had any questions about the ambulance, I could answer that.
It's running. It's running.
It's there if I need it,
It's there.
I hope I
We have
never
people-
do.
right?
No offense.
We were having a lot of problems with one of them, but now they're running all pretty good. A couple of years
Well,
ago.
we have problems with other ones, that's why we're getting rid of that one and
With
getting
the
the new
diesel,
one.
huh? Yeah.
Thank
The
you,
problem was,
Bad.
first generation.
Yeah.
Thank you, chief.
Thank you.
Thank
You
you.
don't get the lemon law on the ambulances, huh?
Thank you. Have a good night.
Thank
Thank you
you.
very much, Chief.
Thanks, Kat, appreciate it.
You got it.
I think I knocked it out there, sorry about that.
Chief, would you leave that door open? It is going to get way too lack of air in here.
Okay.
We don't want
Yeah, it
that.
is
We don't
hard.
have to call you
Oh,
back.
that's
Yeah.
Yeah, I was
And
gonna
if
say,
you
we're
see
stuffing
anyone
enough
out
already,
there,
we don't
if you
need
see
it.
anyone out there making noise, just please
Capital.
inform them that there is a meeting
Just
going
trickle.
on.
Well, actually, it's probably the Board of Health waiting,
You
they
got
were
it.
supposed to be on the
Okay.
agenda at 7:30.
Okay. Well, we're gonna
Well-
have the moderator speak to us.
Why don't we get 5 minutes with the moderator and
Yeah,
send the moderator?
sounds good.
All right.
Back to
I'm sure he has
moderator.
other
Let him
things
do
to do.
moderating
He had
You
a
don't
short
think you'll
nap
join
there.
us after?
for the other pieces of the meeting.
So go home.
Well, you didn't say that, we could have had the agenda there. I didn't know that. That's what we wanted to talk to you about, right?
How close is it?
Howard,
We could do that next week.
Howard is,
So,
Howard asked to have the
Yeah.
moderator come in.
so if I may, real quickly, and I think I shot an email out on the concept. It seemed to me that either last week or the week before, Matt suggested, at least the way I picked up on it, since I've been involved with the Finance Committee, it seems to me that the manner in which it's presented at town meeting has the 5 selectmen up on the stage and the little Finance Committee,
Excuse me.
down, in the little seats, and the weight of the proposals to the town doesn't strike me as being, if you will, equally presented. But Matt makes it sound as though, and maybe I'm just still learning, that in theory, right, that we talked about this last year even, in theory, it's the Finance Committee's job to come up with its own entire budget, equal to the proposal of either the Board of Selectmen or the town manager, or some combination of both. Is that correct? Am I reading that correctly?
So actually, I'll kind of
Don't
back up.
you leave. We've got you here.
Not for long.
Yeah, I'll actually back up. No one has any standing at town meeting. The Board of Selectmen, the reason why they're up on stage was a space-saving measure. It started when we started some of the override discussions and that kind of stuff, and we had the, standing room only, and,
Okay.
everybody move into the center aisles and that kind of stuff. So in order to conserve as much seating as possible, we moved the Board of Selectmen up there. They actually, one of the other reasons why they're up there is because they proposed the most motions. Thank you. This is the word I was looking for. They're walking the stage,
Sure.
more than anyone else. But from an official capacity, once the Board of Selectmen sets the warrant, like they have no official.
Quick interjection if I could.
Yep.
I'm sorry. So both of the other two rooms that are much larger in size are open and available for you guys
I
if it's
think
getting
to
too.
move at this point, Kevin, we have our cable people here and everything. I think that would be a little bit much.
Just wanted to
Thank
make
you.
the offer if you guys wanted to, because I
Thanks.
know this room heats up fast, so.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's why I didn't want the door open. I didn't want the door.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks.
So not to belabor the point
Yeah.
too much, but once the Board of Selectmen set the warrant, technically they're done. The warrant is then the province of town meeting itself. So, yeah, it's just like I said, it's a flow issue, and it was a space saving issue. But as far as them having any more or less weight, yeah, they don't.
So we had some, Mike, I think you Carol, you two were present last spring. We went back and forth in our finance committee meeting of remembering
budget
the
was
year
it?
before,
Yeah.
whose budget was it? Who made the change proposals? And I think we came back last year to the concept that it was almost finance's budget. Am I correct whose budget it is that gets proposed? Who proposes the base budget at town meeting? Finance, Board of Selectmen, or the town manager?
Finance.
That seems to be
That was
the
mine.
way it
It's
played out
finance.
last
That's-
year.
It's always the hope that there's one budget.
Right.
It is always the hope
Yeah,
that there's
because by
one
the time we
budget.
get to that point, it's always the hope that
Right.
we are in agreement when we present to town meeting. But it's the finance committee that makes the recommendation.
But we have made different recommendations in the past.
But let's suppose, because I'm a very agreeable person, but let's suppose I wasn't. And you had a Board of Finance or a Finance Committee budget that had three material differences from, is it from Board of Selectmen's budget or town manager's budget? Is the other,
If they
Emerging
have,
budget.
usually the town administrator, which is what we have, and the Board of Selectmen will come together. There have been occasions when that has not happened as well.
could town meeting see three different
Yes.
budget proposals?
They would be listed in the flyer that
Yep.
gets
The warrant.
mailed out. So every household receives the flyer. And
Yep.
if they are not in agreement, you will have 3 columns.
You could have three.
Correct.
And do they show up as one warrant or three?
So it's not a warrant, and the flyer that goes out is, we've had that argument as well.
Behind you.
It's not, it's a copy of the
Flyer.
warrant. But it does show up.
That's not a good one. The one
Yep.
to the right of it.
And then when the finance committee gives their recommendation verbally at town meeting, i.e. standing up and going through the budget, the
I
finance
can only
committee says.
digest, Pam,
Finance
Pam,
committee
I can only
recommends.
digest the thoughts of one person
Okay,
addressing me in a moment.
okay,
Thank
then
you.
go ahead.
So,
I have a question
I
now
understand.
that Jean is looking to address for me.
So this is a combined article. You actually agreed on that budget. If you
Okay.
did not agree, you would have multiple columns listed. So you would have, depending on who's the first one is, would be the town administrator, board of
Right.
selectmen, finance committee.
Coming through what vehicle?
It would come through, this is the budget going to each household. This is what's mailed
Okay.
out. So they would have this in front of them and Keith would have it on
And
the
how does-
screen.
And how does budget get
So his-
proposed
his-
at town meeting?
His question is really who crafts the motion.
Maybe.
It's the finance.
Who,
committee.
who forwards who moves the motion?
finance committee makes the motion.
So
Right, we've always
finance
stood up.
committee, Ryan, last year, got up, motion to approve the budget proposed by finance?
Yes. Articles 1 and
will the
2.
Board of Select person get up a minute later and say, no, motion to approve the budget
So,
of the
and this is where
Board of
it's,
Selectmen?
yeah, and this is where it's important that, you know, I know ahead of time, you know, that there are competing proposals. And we'll come up with a plan of action for that.
Have we seen that in the last couple of years?
I don't think
No.
so. I don't ever remember seeing it.
The closest
Okay.
we came was,
Blackstone Valley.
yeah, was BVT. Because
Yeah, yeah.
by law, BVT has to have their,
And it was.
Right,
yeah,
right.
and it was.
right,
So it's just,
right.
it's a matter of,
It's a matter of interpretation.
yeah,
And
and
actually-
who goes first.
We
And I
moved
apologize.
that to a special article now, so
Right.
it's no longer as part of
Yeah.
that budget.
So that,
That's taken
so
care
is it
of.
an article that gets presented as a vote on the budget? Is that it? I've got the difference in my head between an article, a motion,
So all a warrant is.
and a warrant.
Yeah, all a warrant is another way to think about it is it's a warning. Okay, so it's something that goes out to, you know, to everyone and says, warning, this is what we're going to be discussing at town meeting.
Mhm.
And that's why, you know, sometimes I'll have the discussion of there's what they call scope. Okay, and if I don't believe that the topic or, you know, or the conversation around that warning goes beyond what a reasonable person could expect from that discussion, it would be deemed out of scope, out of order, and the person would be cut off. Or the, you know, what they're proposing wouldn't be considered by the body. Out of that warrant comes the actual motion. And the motions can wind up being crafted as early as a minute before,
Yeah.
you know, as new information comes to light and you know, we're tweaking numbers and that kind of stuff. I abhor last minute changes to the motions, but they're a fact of life. So, you know, at the end of the day, the motion that gets considered is the one that that is brought up at that, you know, at the podium.
Give me the visual to look at. You know, the document, I mean? No. Okay.
But the prime mover of the budget is the finance committee, correct?
By tradition, not by bylaw.
Really? Does the bylaw refer to it at all?
Not a bit.
Okay.
Is that not
I
state law?
have to ask,
Not that I'm aware of.
is this discussion predicated on a loaded question, if I may?
No,
Oh,
it's
okay.
actually not. No,
Okay.
it's not. I'm just
I
trying to.
mean, I'm just
understand.
wondering what
Okay,
the,
so
purview.
the warrant
Mm-hmm.
is one warrant for the whole night?
Yes.
Okay, so one warrant for the whole night.
And
a whole
again, think
bunch
of that
articles.
as
Yeah, that's
strictly
fine,
as a
sure.
warning.
And then a whole bunch of articles. And then one of the articles, typically very early, is the article to approve the budget.
Yes.
There's a
Correct.
couple of them. We
Other
take them
manual.
together, Articles
Okay.
1 and 2.
Okay, all
And
right.
I hope we're going to take them in order this year.
So it's really
Yeah.
the article that finance crafts.
That's done,
No.
You craft?
with the Board of Selectmen. And then they actually sign the whole warrant, which
Okay.
the budget is a part of.
And
In
we've
fact,
submitted,
there would
we've
be,
submitted.
there may be 3 different totals on that budget, but the Board of Selectmen sign it.
But if we have a series of, like I said, as an example, 3 disagreements, Article 2, and you're suggesting, might be, we're about to present to you 3 different versions of the
It wouldn't
proposed
happen that
budget.
way. The way that it would happen is the finance committee, you know, by tradition, barring anything, you know, unforeseen, would present the first,
The base,
the budget.
okay,
You would have question and answer, you move into debate. If somebody wanted to propose an alternative budget, they would then make an amendment.
that's where I wanted to go, okay,
And it would have to pass.
okay.
Pass or
Okay.
fail,
Right.
so
But
we'll
with a
pretend it fails,
conflict
back to
that
the
I just
original.
haven't really seen yet.
You
What
don't
do we
want
want?
Yeah, and hope you never do.
You don't want
It's not pretty. I mean,
No.
it's
Causes problems.
yeah, and again, and not that it's a town meeting is built for it. I'm not against the discussions or the amendments or any of that, but it does take a higher level of engagement at the meeting to follow the bouncing ball.
Yeah, sure. Okay.
Not to mention, there are a series of public hearings prior to
Right.
that.
Right, the
So you
10th.
would hope if there was any people that have any questions, any citizens that have any questions, they take the opportunity to go, attend your public hearing on April 10th.
And iron out those details.
And then
So
what
that
do
when
we
we go,
vote? Do we
yeah.
vote on the 10th after the public hearing?
Correct.
Typically, yeah, okay, all right, that helps.
And there have been times where legitimately people have gone through the process and said, you know what, I still don't believe that, that what I've been proposing has been sufficiently heard, and I want it, to be brought in front of the town.
To the extent there were one or more substantive conflicts, theoretically, the town administrator could decide to put the bodies at, if you will, equal seating at town meeting.
No. See,
Okay.
everything that happens in that room is my jurisdiction and my jurisdiction only.
Did I say the wrong? Oh, I apologize if I said town
Sorry,
I
administrator.
went with the moderator
Tom.
about seating. It does not
Tom
go well.
moderator.
I watched it happen.
Keith,
It unfolded like a
I meant
dragon.
town moderator.
Oh,
You could,
yes.
not that you're excited about the concept in any manner whatsoever.
Yep.
But you could,
Theoretically, I could. There's not enough space up there.
or bring it down.
Yeah, I could.
Right.
You could bring everyone down, but
Okay.
I don't even always love having the selectmen up there because they wind up blocking part of the projector. But again, it also is that cross flow of it's a great place to see a movie or to see a play. It's not always a great place to hold a meeting.
We could do that instead. No, never mind.
You've been brought up over the past month for another reason, and I'll just bring it up now.
Oh,
We've had trouble getting a quorum.
Yeah.
And the suggestion was made that why don't we reduce the number on the finance committee? Now,
You could do that. You could also just lower your quorum.
well,
Again, in theory,
I think I asked if we
No, I
could
think
do
we
that.
asked.
I thought Matt said we could.
Yeah,
worked it out.
I think I did bring up, can we lower our quorum? Because it was getting
I'd
very
like to know that because
I
one of
would
the
too.
reasons
There
why.
must be a time.
Yeah, right. We should ask the town Yeah, I think that's more like a mass law question.
It's
Yeah.
the majority of the
Town council,
committee,
right?
and I think that's why we did put it as a placeholder on the.
So,
Yeah.
but here's the thing. A lot of town meetings have gone to a zero quorum.
Yeah.
Not a zero quorum, obviously that would be impossible, but
We only have
if-
15, so.
Yeah, we only have 15. And the reason for that was they actually found the lower quorums had more people that would show up because they were afraid that
Oh.
only
yeah.
15 people
Something
would
transact.
yeah. So they found that there was actually a higher rate of attendance with lower quorums.
Okay. So, how are we leaving this?
that covers my informational
Yeah.
need. I appreciate you coming in.
So if the answer is the majority of the committee has to vote, are you okay with reducing the number from 9 to 7? I think that's the question.
Am I personally okay with reducing the number of FinCom?
See, I don't think it's up to the finance committee to do that, personally.
Well, it would be
That's
presented to
me.
town meeting.
Right, it would be a town meeting
I
thing.
know.
I'd have to put some thought behind it.
But we have had meetings where staff has stayed and some members have shown up and we just didn't have a quorum at the meeting. And I think we
Yeah.
had to cancel
Yeah,
a
it's-
number of
it's-
meetings this year, and I don't think that's fair either.
No, it's horrendously unfair and
Puts an
and
awful lot
I
of
could-
pressure on everyone
Yep.
also.
Yeah,
Um,
and believe me,
this is
I'd be
no
happy
leeway.
to stand up on the table and give my whole rant about volunteerism and and all of that, and how much I appreciate all of you stepping forward, and in all of our interviews I've made that really clear, as well as the finance meeting that you put out on your email the other day. Those are two big things for me. But yeah, it really comes down to it's easy to get on social media and rant and rave. It's a lot harder to put your money where your mouth is, and by money I mean your time. And this stuff here that I saw Matt pass out. I almost got a little bleary-eyed just watching it go around the room. You guys are getting into the weeds of of the budgets, and again, for anyone that really has an honest interest in it, it's while it is a time commitment, it's not a full-time job.
Right.
And I think that a lot more people could get involved than maybe realize.
So, can I ask you, down to the nitty-gritty, are you getting anyone contacting you, or no?
I keep getting glancing like, hey, what's that about?
Yeah.
And then
And
kind
then the time, what the perceived time commitment is a problem, or?
I know we missed out on one because of the night of the week.
Meetings.
Yeah. There's been a few. Maybe their skill set didn't quite match up with with what was needed on the committee. I don't like putting bodies on this committee just to put a warm body on the committee. I think we have an incredible breadth of knowledge, both institutional and exstitutional. I'll go with it.
Run with it.
Yeah, on the committee, and it's something that I really strive for, and want to keep up.
Well, my thought is that we need a good cross-section of the people in Douglas, and really 90% of the people in Douglas are not accountants, nor are they auditors, or wonderful
So
people.
what kind of people should we be on the lookout for if we happen to find someone who might have an interest? What kind of
Yeah,
background or
people-
skill set are you looking for?
People who have an honest curiosity, sans agenda, and I do like some sort of background with numbers in some way, it could be. You could look around. There's people who have been in town government and seen different parts of town government. There's people who own businesses who just we do have a great depth of knowledge, and that's something that we have auditors, people who really get into the weeds of numbers and on a daily basis. So you don't have to be that, but you do have to have an honest intellectual curiosity. I think that's my baseline. And one of the questions I always ask is, hey, what did you think of the override? I like to.
You're brave. You're brave.
And the reason isn't as a litmus test of which way they went. It's to see, am I here just for an axe to grind, one way or another, or is it someone who can honestly see multiple sides of a very thorny, very difficult issue? That's all I got.
Thank you, Keith.
Thank you. Thank you
We'll
very
end
much.
it with thorny issues.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Bye,
Keith.
Keith.
Appreciate
Thank
it.
you very much.
Mrs. Lynn, if you have any problems with that article being on the annual.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Reducing the number.
Oh, about reducing, whether or not I have any issue with it? Yeah, I can,
Because there is a placeholder on that.
Okay.
Who's next? Board of Health?
Yep.
And they're gonna come
Can
with
we
like
leave that
7
door
people.
open? It's
Thank you all.
probably quiet.
Thank you. Close the door?
Bye,
Is that-
Keith.
No, I leave it open. Please let some air in here.
We're almost done.
Yeah, it's just a over thingy. No, it's the breathing, it's the air.
5 minutes for the board of health. I don't know if you need any help.
Believe me, this, I did spring tonight.
It's a short sleeve.
Because it's short sleeve.
I think we would maybe call that a 3/4 sleeve. Okay.
Oh, hi, guys.
Sorry we're so
late.
behind schedule.
Have a seat here.
A lot of us.
And
There are a lot
There
of
are a lot
us.
of you.
Oh, wow.
Uh-oh.
hello
Oh my
there.
goodness, what are we
That's
gonna do?
why, that's why,
Okay.
we're gonna have a quick meeting.
How long does it take to?
No, I had the option to move into another room, but I think the time it would have taken to do that would
Yeah,
have really.
we're told it's 2 seconds to switch.
I'll just carry this right into another room if you guys want to switch. Don't worry about me.
All right, we've got too many people
go to
here,
the big
let's
room?
do that. So, we're gonna recess for about 5 minutes.
We're going to the big room.
Are we all here now?
We are.
Okay, so we've had our 5-minute recess and we've changed venues. So we have the Board of Health now coming before us. And I think, since I don't know some of the people on the Board of Health, that we all ought to introduce ourselves. I'll start with the Finance Committee. Carol?
Carol Dogolinsky.
Heather Moore.
Lynn Mazzulli.
Howard D'Amico.
Pam Holmes?
Michael Putnam.
Dick Vandenberg.
Jean Levitt?
Emily McLean.
Bob Razzo. Dick Skinner.
Stephen Anatelli.
Kristen Harris.
Corey Howard.
Thank you.
Corey, what was your last name?
Howard.
Howard. Okay, so we've got our 2020 budget. Who is presenting and how are we gonna start? Your choice. Why don't we start with regular Board of Health budget? And can you tell me, cover, what you cover and some of the things, actions you take?
Okay, Board of Health's responsibilities, probably the biggest thing we have is the transfer station. You oversee the transfer station. Other than that, we have the nurse, we have a public nurse. We do Title V, septic installations, the permitting, through the office for that. Things we might do, we do monitor and test water, the well waters and the lake beaches we have the water tested. What else do we? The town, yeah, the landfill.
Animal inspector.
The animal inspector also falls under the Board of Health.
Subjects.
Yeah. that's pretty much
You
that.
inspect the kitchens and the
Yep.
restaurants?
Yes, yeah,
You hire somebody to do that, I think. don't
we
you?
do. Steve Garabedian does the restaurant
Yeah.
inspections. Kitchen inspections.
So we'll start with the Board of Health then.
Okay.
Any change, what changes are you undergoing in the next year? Anything crazy?
Anything.
Okay.
Animal inspector.
If I may just say, I know some of you watch Trends. Board of Health wages, I'm gonna run through this really quick, Howard.
Sure.
Kristen is the 51110. She's budgeted half here and half our 2219. Between the transfer station and Board of Health, and she's also budgeted for additional hours for Board of Health meetings such as this.
Okay.
We did change the coding on the part-time to stipends this year. So you're gonna see 0 under 51200 and 51201. That's because we just brought them down to 51904. It's just a structural
Gotcha.
change. And there was very little movement on the expense side.
Clearly. Okay. Go to the
Animal inspector.
No major changes there, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
And he's not standard hours, he's as needed. Is that correct?
As a stipend
The
position.
stipend.
Does he inspect barns and stuff?
Yes.
Yes.
I think, yeah. And the farms. And then nursing, how many hours a week do we have benefit of the nurse?
Right now, 3.5.
3.5, okay, so it went up from 18 to 19? Or did the salary go up? Went from
I think
4750 to 13,000.
No, that's the budget, that's the actual spent in FY '18. The budget for '19 was 13,000, the budget for '20 is 13,000. This is a kind of like a per diem position, so if she doesn't work that week, she doesn't get paid. So it's paid, on the actual, it's paid for the hours worked, or the half
Okay,
days
but
worked.
still, I mean, it over doubled, so we're using her more.
The budget is
The
doubled,
budget
but we
request.
haven't, I think you're gonna see a transfer from the special town meeting. This is something we addressed with the Board of Health earlier. They're gonna kind of look at where the position is
It's
going.
going
Yeah.
forth from here.
Can you explain more about the nurse? Where is this nurse situated? What does this nurse do?
So she's at the Board of
The
Health.
mystery nurse.
Yep.
Yeah.
Is that what it is?
You
One
have a
day a
nurse?
week. Yep, so we do, there's,
Blood pressure?
well, she does blood pressure, but the state, like if there's diseases, she's gonna track everything. Maven, it's called Maven.
Communicable diseases, et cetera.
Right,
Yeah.
and if there's somebody that has something that the state will call her and she'll have to go visit their house, make sure that they're on track with everything they're supposed to be doing. And she does that weekly. She does blood pressure. If anybody comes in, some people come in and get their blood pressure done. If there's someone that needs medication, I can't give it, she does everything.
And she's a certain day a week, or does it
She's
vary?
Tuesday afternoons, yeah,
Tuesdays.
because she can stay after, because we open till 6. And she does a lot of emergency preparedness for the town.
I have a question about the transfer station. How do you determine the cost of the sticker? I mean, is the goal to make money or to break
No,
even, or?
It's, break even is what our goal is. Our sticker prices over the last 4 or 5 years have been actually lower than our expenses. We've had our retained earnings getting pretty high, so we wanted to lower the sticker prices and lower that, and give something like kind of back to the community, people are using it, to lower the sticker prices. And probably sometime in the near future, we'll probably go back up where it was. It was 110.
So how do you earn money on the transfer station?
Retained earnings, how does that grow? Well, we need to do maintenance and future projects at the transfer station to maintain the facility and maybe expand if need be. So we have to grow the budget of the retained earnings there to be able to handle any future costs for any expansion or repairs or maintenance that the facility is required. to
And
have.
when you do the budget, do you assume a certain number of people will buy stickers every year? Is that pretty
It's pretty
steady?
Yeah, it's pretty steady.
Okay.
It is. It's probably about half the town, about 1,300 approximately.
Yeah.
Approximately every year, it's about 1,300 households that buy the stickers.
And the costs for disposing of our trash
Yes.
is recycled, and then some of it isn't, and there's a cost associated with it, so.
Yeah, the recyclables, they can, there are bins out there for the recyclables. It doesn't cost anything there that we, town actually gets money when we, for the recyclables. The other trash we have to pay to have hauled away. And that's big, sticker prices really going
And
to
that's what they want to divide up, the cost to get rid of our trash. They
Yes.
want to divide up among the 1,300 people who are buying the
Correct.
stickers.
Everybody's using the
That's how-
facility.
That's how they work it.
Yeah, there's been stuff in the news lately, other communities, that the whole recycling thing is, it's out of control. Like Newton, they have so much recyclables, so they don't know what to do with it.
Yeah.
Oh,
The price is way down. I mean,
Yeah, a lot
have
of
you
people-
noticed anything in our
China doesn't want
recyclables?
it anymore.
I haven't noticed anything as far as changes in the volume we've had. Recyclables compared to trash has been pretty consistent.
But what about the amount of money that you're getting in for it?
A
gone
lot of
down?
the recyclables actually, I know like metal's been
Low.
low.
Yeah.
Low. We haven't been getting very much money back for.
Yeah, and are you having trouble getting rid of cardboard? Because that's what I had read that, and not necessarily
We haven't
Douglas.
had trouble.
We
You haven't
haven't.
had any
No.
trouble getting, so they still paying you a little bit for cardboard?
A little bit, yes.
Yeah.
Everything we
Cardboard,
get,
yeah.
yeah, what we get money for. And,
Yeah.
3-year contract.
Oh, you have a contract with it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Blackstone Valley.
So, whatever goes in the recyclables, you get a little back and we don't have to pay to get rid of it. So
Correct.
that works good.
Well,
Try to
we pay for all
encourage,
of it.
yeah,
Pay for
Yeah.
the hauling.
the hauling,
We get-
that's
Yeah.
that.
But at least you get a little, you don't get paid for the trash that
No,
goes
we have
away.
to-
You're paying for
Still a lot of
it.
money to haul that away,
Yeah.
dispose of the trash. high majority of the money that we bring in goes for the
Seems like you run
removal
a
of
pretty,
trash.
pretty nice operation over there. I got a sticker. I usually only show up once a month, but I got a sticker.
When are the stickers available? I remember I got one once and you have to buy at a certain time.
April and November, are they?
Yeah.
What's this month she's selling?
September.
No, September,
March.
yes.
March and
March
September.
and September?
Or a
Okay.
bill comes in. Same way.
Transfer station.
And do you have people there, what, so that they're due in March, but do you have people there the month before, or is it the end of March, or?
The whole month of March, I think.
You're staffing, they're just asking you a staffing question.
The staff, I mean, this,
Yeah.
we have staff there.
To sell
To
stickers.
sell the stickers. I think it's just the month leading up to, so this month, the month of March, they are selling stickers up there.
So it'll start April 1st.
And Kristen sells stickers
So
in the
usually,
Board of
like-
Health office.
If I
Mid to end of
understand you
February,
correctly.
is the March stickers.
Well, most of the
Since I
time,
get
she
them
was.
Well, when I went to get mine, it was closed,
And
I had to
then
go
how much
over
are
there.
the
Oh,
stickers?
that's
I
right.
have 100.
If I understand your
And if you're
question,
65 or
your
older,
question
50.
is, are there extra people there selling stickers?
No, are there people at the transfer station?
The regular people who are there all the
Employees.
time?
They sell stickers also, all the
Yes.
time?
Not just the month leading up to it.
Oh, so they don't sell, then
Not
I'm
year-
getting two different.
Not year
answers.
round, I mean, just, by April 1st,
Uh-huh.
everybody needs a new sticker.
Okay.
For the use facility.
Okay.
So the month of March,
Okay.
they sell stickers, they don't sell before that.
Other than that, you can come to me and I sell them all.
Well, yeah.
If you're a
Yes.
resident or.
Okay. Does anyone have any more questions about the transfer station?
I just want to clarify one statement.
Sure.
It's 11 hours on the transfer station side and 19 hours on Board of Health for Kristen. I doubled it on one of them, so I just wanted to clarify
Okay.
that before she left.
I was thinking 2 weeks, 22 is.
22 and 2 weeks, yeah. I doubled one, I didn't double the second. Yeah.
Okay, now monitor wells, has that changed at all over the recent past? Doesn't look like it has. That's the wells that are at the.
The old landfill.
No landfill.
And those are wells that were put in to
Test wells. They test the well.
to test for contaminants or whatever. Okay. And then the maintenance of the landfill, how's that doing?
We've got mowed
Not too
twice a year.
expensive.
We have mowed.
No major changes year over year.
Correct.
Correct?
Correct.
All right.
Board of Health Animal Inspector, who's our animal inspector now?
Maurice Gilbo. Mo Gilbo.
Mogul?
No, since before Jim Valley passed away, who were we using in his position?
I think we just hired Margaret Bacon.
Okay. Margaret Bacon? Is she doing like some other towns too?
Yes.
Yeah.
He
I'm
did
sorry, I
8.
didn't hear the question. Carol?
I said, since Jim Malley passed away.
Yeah.
And I said, who are they hiring
Mhm.
to do his job?
And the answer was,
We offered it to Margaret Bacon, civil site engineering.
uh-huh,
So with Douglas, she's local.
yeah, okay.
Yeah, she'll do 5 towns. He did 8.
Yeah.
And
she's
we have
from
another
Douglas.
engineer.
She is.
And did you have any other information for the finance committee that you'd like to present? Questions, comments, wishes?
Which is.
Thank you all for your patience tonight. Appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a great evening.
But maybe I'll just go over there and rip off my.
They'll sell, they can sell to you.
I know they can, yeah. Thank you.
Thank you all for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you very
much.
I hope they give you double time. And double.
Bill, come on up. You're
Come on
next.
up, Bill.
You're the next contestant? Oh, wait. So, 8:30.
See? Right on schedule.
Are we?
We just caught up in 45 minutes.
I will get
got a
you
lot accomplished.
back up to speed.
Thank you, Bill.
That's right, that's right.
Do you wanna do budget first, or?
What are we
warrant
supposed to do?
articles?
We're supposed to open this big thing that Matt gave us, I guess? Jean?
Yes.
We're supposed to open the big thing.
Correct.
Oh, there's no
One by
numbers, are
17.
there?
You are gonna find them? and-
Department 189,
Yeah.
Yeah,
Your
let's check
170s first.
Big
Not at all.
170?
175.
Oh,
You want to start 175 planning?
I don't have that.
Page 7.
I'm sure it's correct.
If you want the planning board, it's page 7.
I like it.
That's what I got.
Let's,
I'm there.
There it is. There it
Is
is.
that where you wanted to start, Bill, planning?
Yes.
So,
Cool.
conservation is
Planning and
175.
zoning.
You may want to go back to conservation on one.
Page 6.
Okay.
You're up. You have the floor.
Okay. So basically, this is just basically our annual operating budget. It's the same as it's been for the last number of years. It's got no increase actually from last year, so
Yeah.
$2,789 for expense line. Very straightforward. Okay. Next is planning board. They have gone up slightly. The issue we have is every year CMRPC and our membership with CMRPC, that's the Regional Planning Commission, increases their membership fee. And it's kind of a shot in the dark because they issue the bill after the fiscal year closes, so it's kind of a guess. We just trend it out and try to figure out what's going on. So that accounts for that minor increase. Zoning board, that remains the same.
What about open space above that?
Oh, I'm
Do you
sorry,
have
I missed open space. Yeah, that's been a level $100
Yeah.
since the beginning of time.
Are they using that at all?
Not that I've
Aware
seen.
of, yeah, okay.
It's just good to have if they need to mail something or
Yep.
something like that. So zoning board, that likewise is level funded. They do carry an advertising line in case they have something that warrants them advertising. But again, it's level funded. They don't have a tendency to spend out of their budget either. They don't have membership fees like other departments. But they, like I know this year,
Minutes.
Maria's asking for them. That gets paid under my department so Maria is ordering a few file cabinets this year for them because she needs them, so you'll likely see something drawn out of their account.
Bill, back up to planning.
Yeah.
We've been in CMRPC for a long time now.
Yes.
Has it been worth it?
I think so. I think they're invaluable, frankly. I think they offer, as part of the membership, I believe 24 hours of what's called regional local assistance, and they'll assign staff from their office that we can utilize and access, and we do take advantage of that. And we've grown over time somewhat of a relationship, so it's a little less formal in some cases where we can communicate and get feedback and samples of regulations or bylaws, and we work with them collaboratively. It's pretty good there.
Don't they do traffic studies too?
They come down annually, do traffic studies. That's not necessarily part of their our membership. They do that as part of their relationship with the state.
Okay.
Economic development, it's my understanding they went before the selectmen tonight and asked them to increase their budget, expense budget from $1,000, which it's been for the last number of years, to $5,000. So, and the reason is they've got a few larger projects that are looming on the horizon that they're hopeful to facilitate.
Do you sit on those meetings too, Bill, at all?
When I'm requested to,
Okay.
I do.
Seems late to be making budget requests.
That's because this stuff has come up late, but we're hot on the trail of something good. So,
Without specifics, generally, what are we talking about?
generally, we don't use it. We have a placeholder, and we haven't used it in a few years.
No, I
No, but
know that.
what are the projects that are?
Yeah.
The project, there was a presentation made at the last selectmen's meeting, I think, so it'd be good for the board to watch it if they're curious about the details. But generally, we're looking at a larger
facility and perhaps even kind of a subdivision scenario. So a number of
WBDC working?
projects, potential.
Home construction,
No.
No.
subdivision, commercial.
And you'll see some of this reflected in my warrant article changes, Walter. I mean, Howard, it's
Howard.
Howard. Yeah, I'm sorry. Yep.
Oh, Bill, we have 2 new members that you don't know. You know, Dick.
And when,
Hi.
Sorry.
So there's opportunity there, so it makes good sense to do the investment into, because we all know we are a veteran community.
I mean, personally, I think the request, even at $5,000 is low.
Marginal. It's marginal.
And I think it would have warranted more, but it's so late in the game, as you indicated, that, you know,
Yeah.
we don't want to have a major change at this hour. I mean, Matt's gone through the budget with a fine tooth comb, so.
So is WBDC, pardon me, I mean, I know this doesn't, they don't work for economic development, they work for the selectmen, but are they still working for the town?
They are not.
They're not. Okay.
That's been quite a few years, right?
They had been contracted with the town for, I want to say, about 3 years, Gene, does that sound about right?
I thought they were still working marginally last year, maybe not, no.
That was the $15,000.
No, the contract was, Matt terminated the contract.
Oh, I see.
Because they hadn't gotten anywhere. Hadn't
We
seemed
haven't
to.
seen the value in the return on the
Well,
investment.
right. And so the increase from 1 to 5 is for almost
Work.
money
Right. The money we
geared
were
towards
using,
specific projects?
the intent of that is probably to hire some consultants to help us prepare grant applications.
Right.
Makes me love
Okay.
Super.
The funds that we've used to pay WBDC, I believe, were from that grant from the land taking over on the Webster line, the DCR acquired properties that were industrially zoned, and
Yeah,
we
yeah.
we did get some funds for that, and I think that's where WBDC was being paid out of.
Okay. Oh, there we go. Just turn the page and.
And there we are.
Development.
Then we get to my department. So the staff in our department is going up with, we're submitting for 2 step increases, and the rest is just the COLA for the remainder of the staff. And so that's fairly straightforward.
Yeah.
The expenses, we're maintaining a uniform trend. We did change some of the allocations under the expense designations because we no longer have the vehicle, so we kind of shifted around some of the funding to account for travel.
So Bill, the 57,100, that went up a bit from 50 to 1277.
That's what-
Yeah,
it's because of
that's
the
travel.
gasoline.
That's what you're talking about?
reimbursing miles,
That's what it
yeah.
is.
Okay.
Yeah. So the trend remained the same. The bottom line is what we submitted last year. It's just a maneuvering of the specifics within the account. And that's
Anyone
it.
have any questions?
Yep.
It's fairly straightforward.
How many full-time
We
people?
have, we have 1 full-time.
Maria.
Well, Maria,
Oh.
yes. And Steve and Mary does the meeting minutes
Yeah.
transcription.
So
and,
she'd be part-time.
She's part-time, and Steve, the conservation agent, is part-time
Steve's
as well.
So
Okay,
you,
so
Maria, Steve, and
Mary. Okay, and then we just have building facilities.
It's 1 and 2.
And I have that one.
Oh, thank you. That's one, I think.
Sorry. Okay, 198, I don't have a page number.
Okay.
So our
Is that-
expenses are level funded.
Permanent building committee, is that what you're
This is
looking at?
permanent building committee,
Okay.
yes. Staff time is increasing slightly. We did reduce the expected number of hours. I had a discussion with Matt today, and it's really, what I struggle with is, you know, our meeting minute person is so efficient that it's not really representative if she left of someone else coming in. We've had experience with other people, and they're not as efficient as the current meeting minute person. So I generally try to budget for a worst-case scenario, probably overly conservative, but, so Matt and I had that discussion, and we did not carry what I was fully seeking on that line because of the efficiency. Let me just put it that way. And then with regard to the expenses, it's really just office supplies. Sometimes we do have, even though it's not in that line item, we do have mailings and advertising if we need to. If we put projects out to bid, we would have to manage that.
So that's the budget part of it.
That's the budget component.
We haven't seen anything that would go with these maps, Bill.
I understand.
I have no idea.
And that's why I'm here.
Mystery maps.
We have seen something.
Okay, so I'm not sure which zoning articles these must be.
Since we don't have them.
a copy of the town meeting, but I wish we don't pick up.
Where'd you get the name?
It's on the exterior, actually.
Just kidding.
Okay. Did you want to talk about,
You're only
Special.
speaking, you can, you're only speaking to yours right now. And these are still in draft mode?
So we're not gonna get the written articles?
We don't have the written articles. Bill is here a week earlier because we had a conflict next week. So he's going to speak to his articles.
okay, and I suspect you'll have good note-taking.
Should just be a separate package inside of it.
Yeah.
Okay, the first one doesn't have to do with the nice figures I just.
No, inside.
Sure. This is article, currently labeled as Article 4 in the special.
So are we looking at figure 1, or?
No figures yet.
You just have to listen to you?
I'm sorry about that, Pam. So Article 4, special town meeting, supplemental green communities funding, LED streetlight account. We're in the process of closing that out. That, you may recall, we did get a grant for roughly $145,000 from the state for being designated a green community. One of the projects we employed was redoing the streetlights. You might notice they're LED streetlights now. A number of those lights have to be what's called rewired because the fuses are not compatible with the existing wires in it. Not all 400, roughly 100 of them have to be rewired. So we're in the process of trying to get a firm number for that, and I'm working on that actively. Jean's on me to get that number resolved. So I'm working between probably 4 state entities to try and handle that process and number. So it's a scheduling issue. We're trying to get it done before the end of the fiscal year. So it's kind of a scramble. And
So this is gonna be for the special town
the
meeting?
dollar amount is in flux, and of course, just to further complicate things, we're also working with reimbursements that are kind of not defined yet, what the value of those reimbursements are. So it's kind of a little too
Reimbursements.
premature to give you a firm number, or at least a
Reimbursements
good
from?
guess at a number. We expect that, I expect that the net sum is gonna be at least 0 for the project. It's just maneuvering the funds around in order to get that to work, so.
So Jean is actively involved in this?
She is.
Maneuver is a strong word. I would say reallocate.
Okay.
We don't maneuver things.
You didn't say manipulate, so that's
Massage.
That's a good one.
So
The
that's
other thing is there is a National Grid incentive, and that would be general fund revenue. So like Bill said, the goal is to have a net zero.
we have an idea of those dollar amounts, but they're not committed from the entities that are gonna be reimbursing us, so it makes it complicated.
So essentially, we're looking to rewire 100
100.
streetlights.
Correct.
Do we know the high and low of the possibilities?
I don't wanna say
I know
anything
you
on,
don't want to say.
yes, at this point.
Are you looking to
You'll
come
have it
close
by
to-
your next
Lots
meeting,
of
I can tell you
information.
that.
There you go.
But you're looking to come close to net zero, right?
The net will be zero. I'm expecting the net will be zero.
What may happen is we may have to fund it here, but then we'll get a National Grid incentive. The National Grid incentive will go into the general fund, and that will close into free cash. So it's really you're funding it up front.
Okay.
prepay and get reimbursed.
We don't prepay, we don't maneuver.
Next.
See, she has to. Okay, so that's interesting, Bill.
Okay, next we have, I think 16.
So that was the
may be
only
in
one
there.
on the special town meeting.
Okay, so 16 and 17 on the annual. I think this is non-financial in nature. You may recall a number of years ago, we had designated a number of parcels in town as 43D, quote unquote. What that means is expedited permitting. And the expedited permitting says, the statute says, the permitting process for a project in a designated area will be at most 6 months. Okay, sometimes these projects that get submitted can go longer than that. So we find, we're trying to get another area of town designated as 43D, or expedited permitting. That involves the state. So the first step is basically identifying the parcels, having town meeting vote on those parcels, and then if town meeting passes that, through the selectmen, we will go to the interagency permitting board in Boston, get their approval. After they give us their approval, we will have to come back to town meeting to make a zoning bylaw change. So there's a process, but Articles 16 and 17 currently numbered. 16 removes some parcels that were previously designated, basically where the wind farm was proposed, because now it's owned by the state, so we're looking to de-designate those. And then we're going to take a number of parcels on the other side of town and identify them. And you'll see some maps in here that reflect that. I think actually in the colorful figures I have, I'm specifically talking about figures 3 and 4. Figure 3 shows the ones that we're going to remove from the designation, and figure 4 shows the parcels that we're going to add to the designation of 43D expedited permitting.
Now, is there a reason that it's not going down through this area?
Currently, what we're looking at for utilization doesn't need those parcels, so we're not being overly broad in our request. I mean, theoretically, we could request every industrial parcel in town, but at this stage, we know of a specific project, specific parties involved, so this is what we're looking at for designated.
Is it too late to include those?
I don't think it is. It's not too late till the selectmen vote the warrant and the finance committee vote the warrant. But this is what EDC requested.
Can't figure out where this is.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is Route 16
Sure.
at the bottom. This is the town of Uxbridge over here. 146 kind of clips this little corner, boom. Okay.
Of course, unfortunately.
Northeast Main Street's up here.
Unfortunately, I've been at finance committee meetings and I haven't been at the EDC meetings, and so if I would have seen this, I would have asked them to add a little more to this than what they're adding, quite frankly. I haven't been at their meetings because I've been here. And I probably know more about this land than any of them do. Who owns what and where.
Again, I think that the methodology was to identify the specific parcels that we know are on the horizon.
Okay.
It's not to say
For
more.
development, for economic development.
Right.
Aren't these two parcels belong to Taylor?
Yes.
They really should be in it then. They definitely should be in it.
Bill, is the meeting in Boston pretty pro forma, or is it dicey?
The jury's still out on that, Dick. Before, it was pretty procedural. This is when they were rolling out grant monies to get towns to designate parcels. They've stopped giving the grant money. However, I'm not sure how active the IAPB is anymore. And this is coming through town council who does this kind of thing, so, you know, we're kind of researching it at this point too.
Okay.
Getting up to date
Right.
on who's on, who's where. Oh, good, oh, good, thank you. Anything else?
Yes,
No, there
Article
was-
18, zoning bylaw change. The town clerk, and we're having a public hearing with the planning board on April 9th at 7 PM. You're all welcome to attend. The town clerk's looking to add a section to the zoning bylaw that would enable her to essentially make edits to the bylaw, not in content, but in numbering and sequencing. What we found in a number of years ago, actually, it pertained to the 43D, and that's how it cropped up. The zoning bylaw portion of the 43D, the last time we adopted it, we had section 6. Well, it turns out it never physically made it into the bylaw, and that's a problem. So we have two choices: either adopt this section, which would allow the town clerk to make these edits, not change the structure, but renumber the sections, or go back to town meeting and have a new number for those sections that were previously approved.
So it's more housekeeping?
It is a housekeeping item.
But you're looking to change things and then have, it's like ones before the numbers don't add up, I guess. You've got, Article 18 is the changes in order to allow number 16 and 17 to occur. Is that
No.
correct? No?
No, maybe 5 or 6 years ago, we passed a zoning bylaw for the Pine property and the wind farm property
Okay,
that designated them as
Yeah.
43D. That's separate from 16 and 17.
okay, I got you.
As part of step 2 of that process, we had a zoning hearing and adopted a zoning bylaw for that 43D expedited permitting.
All right, separate.
Okay.
Yeah, I got it.
Okay. So that's Article 18. Article 19 pertains to Figure 1. And that's the same part of town that we're looking at, the 43D thing. We're looking to take that red hatched area and rezone it from residential to industrial. Very straightforward. We are having a public hearing regarding that with the planning board on April 9th at 7:30 PM.
Busy night.
Yes.
Luckily, you are not meeting that evening.
And you're
so
all welcome to
free
attend.
Oh,
Did
thank
I
you,
not
Jean,
say
for
that?
pointing that out.
I know Howard has a previous engagement, but the rest of you.
at the tent, right?
We are, yes, we can do it 2 nights in a row.
Okay, lastly, Article 20, we're looking at another rezoning. This one is on Figure 2, it's shown on Figure 2, and we're looking to rezone the village residential area to village business. And you might recall a number of months ago, a party or a group of people came to the Board of Selectmen with a presentation on a proposed use for that location, and the selectmen supported it, so that's why we're headed in this direction. And again, this is supported by the EDC as well, Economic Development Committee.
What was that proposed use?
It was for a wedding function hall.
It's just a
Wait a minute, not on that whole.
It's just a layout.
That's a big hall. What am I missing?
Basically.
A lot of people.
They
It's a
would
big
use the
weddings.
mansion.
Mansion.
And the
Mansion
grounds.
for it, and the
The
grounds.
grounds and the
Whatever they
mansion.
wanted on the
Beautiful.
It's,
Got it.
it's that whole property that's owned up there.
Got it.
And it's,
I'd love
we,
to. I'm sorry, Armand.
it doesn't stop housing
I had no
because
idea
it's
it was that big.
ADB, but it gives it another
Potential for business.
potential.
Okay.
Basically, you don't have to have one family to come in with some big bucks and buy it.
That's right, right.
It's beautiful house.
There's a lot of things that can be
realize that
done
was
there.
done.
And the public hearing for that one at the planning board is April 9th at 7:15.
Fun times.
And I think that's it. Oh, road acceptances. Articles 24, 25, and 26 and 27 are road acceptances for Deer Crossing, Woodland Road. So that's basically between South Street and Old Farm Road. Stonegate Estates, Meeting House Lane, and a portion of Cobblestone Lane. That's the
What's that for?
road acceptances, so it becomes a public way. Currently, it's still owned by the developer. Stonegate Meeting House and a portion of Cobblestone. Summerlin Estates, which is Wildflower Drive, that's off Cross Street. And lastly, last annual town meeting, we had accepted Darling Way and Brandywine Circle. There's a little 50-foot strip that got omitted, so we have to just clean that up. All of those, with the exception of the last one, we're still working with the developers and fine-tuning things, so I'm not sure how ultimately it will end up, but they're currently slated for town meeting. Okay.
Bill, are there any new subdivisions in the pipeline?
There's a number of new subdivisions in the pipeline, in various states of array, as a matter of fact.
Things are moving along in Douglas.
What's our population?
Just over 8,500.
That number's stayed pretty consistent now, about 50
It is.
years, right?
It was growing pretty rapidly, late 90s, early 2000s, and then it started flattening out.
Would the new developments put that up over?
I would think
9?
so. We have the 40B North Village project that's going on, and that's, as Pam, as you know, probably, 24 units per phase. They just finished phase 1, now they're starting into phase 2. We have a few subdivisions that are over 20 lots that are approved. Smaller projects that are, a handful of lots here and there. So there's inventory.
Are any of them 55 and older?
No.
Are those sort of gone?
No, I think there's a demand. My understanding is Uxbridge has a development and it's selling like hotcakes over there. I would love to see a project like that come in, but we can't dictate that.
No.
The only thing you can do is change its zoning to encourage it
Yeah, yeah.
by, smaller lot sizes or giving an incentive as like the 40B.
Right, or a flexible development
Yeah.
and encourage that sort of thing.
We could all get older, just show need.
Oh, I've been here a long time.
All right.
We're done.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bill. Thank you so much.
Good luck, everybody.
Thank you, Bill.
Hey, say hi, say hi to Steve for me.
Yes, I will.
Tell him I'm alive.
And Maria.
Yeah,
Have a
yeah.
great one.
See ya.
Okay, do we have any reserve fund transfers,
We do
vouchers?
not have any reserve.
No snow and ice changes since last time,
We-
good.
no, And we do not have the minutes from the 319 meeting.
We don't have those, no.
Lynn, go ahead.
Old and new business, hold on. Old and new business. I was not at a meeting a couple of weeks ago, the 12th. And there were very important discussions, and I don't have any information. Does my vice chair? He's
Not a
looking.
chance.
Not, no way, not getting nothing, huh?
Not-
what it was
I have
about.
nothing.
Well, Valley Tech,
Yeah, sure.
our schools, and, there's one more.
The
Douglas-
fire, I
Douglas
mean, the
School.
police.
No, I got
No,
the
we were
police.
the police.
There were three that
You
night.
could watch it on the
Library,
computer.
Anyway, no, I need
Was it that night?
something. So, Jean, do you wouldn't have anything, I don't need it tonight.
That's good.
The school will see again, right?
Well,
School
where's
will
the
see new
Valley
numbers.
Tech? No, we
No, I
don't.
was under the perception we're gonna see a new set of numbers.
Are we seeing anybody again?
Yeah, you have a full meeting next
We'll be
week. We
seeing-
have actually cable coming in next week.
Yay.
Excellent.
That doesn't sound right.
But
you have
I'm
water,
looking for the
sewer.
Valley Tech budget.
I will give you a copy. I'll make sure you
Okay.
get a copy of that.
Thank you. Next meeting, date April 2nd, and we are reviewing what departments? I don't have that off the top of my head.
Cable.
Cable,
I'll just see what you said, right?
I believe water sewer is coming in.
okay, yep.
And we would probably address any of the town administrators'
Is Matt,
budget.
yeah, is Matt coming in, I
Yeah,
think, then?
yeah. And we should have the draft warrant articles.
And the finance department is gonna be going over?
Again, there's really
Assessors and whatever.
not a lot of changes on our side.
know.
I mean, you've been hearing me talk
Okay.
about the debt refunding, so,
Yep,
you know, there's no surprises there.
all right.
I think health insurance is really the biggest, we
And
should
that-
have,
And we'll be able to talk about that, maybe.
there are meetings scheduled on the 1st.
Yeah.
We have the IAC on the 2nd as well in the afternoon. We
Okay.
will have the board meeting on the 2nd and the finance committee meeting on the 2nd.
What is IEC?
Insurance Advisory Committee.
Yep, okay.
So that's
So
a busy day.
What time is the Board of Selectmen meeting? 7?
7.
Yes. Okay, we'll
I
put
think
that
that's
at the end
why-
of the meeting,
yeah.
how's that?
Matt did ask that you change the start
Time
time.
to 6:30, isn't it?
Oh, thanks for bringing that up, I totally blanked
Next
on
week,
that.
Tuesday.
Yeah.
Is there?
Next week?
No,
For next
yeah.
week, yes.
Yes,
Second.
because there's a conflict with the
Who
board.
has no possibility, who has some possibility?
I can make that work.
You can, good, thank you.
I'm away.
You're in?
I can make it work.
I'm away.
You're, oh, that's right, you're away.
I'm
We've
away.
known that forever.
I'm saying it.
How about you?
I've never heard
Plan
of
on
that.
Okay,
And maybe
Okay,
late again.
so we're,
maybe late again.
wait a minute.
I just want you to have a quorum.
I know.
We could start that, though.
Yeah, you guys can start that and I can join
Okay.
it after.
We have a meeting on the 2nd?
Yes, we do.
Yes.
Okay.
Next
Be there at
Tuesday.
B Square. We
We
need
have
to,
a meeting
we
on
do
the
need to
2nd
meet.
and the
You need
10th.
bodies.
And we do need bodies, because
Okay.
Mike is probably not gonna be here at 6:30, so we'll see you at 6:30, Carol?
Yep.
Early supper.
Do we need a motion to move the
5,
meeting to
Dick, you're
6:30,
good?
to start at 6:30?
I'll post it with the clerk,
Okay,
and
6:30?
that
Dick,
does
you're here
it.
next
Okay.
week, 6:30? All right, so there's 5.
Okay,
That's fine.
there's
Yeah,
5 of
5
us.
plus,
Yeah.
yeah.
Very good, okay.
And then we'll let Matt know that, would he be on the agenda at 6:30?
Correct.
Okay.
Now, the next week, we're not doing the 9th, we're doing the 10th, right?
That's correct. That'll be our public hearing.
But you can attend meetings that night. Bill just gave you
Oh, right.
a list of
Oh,
items.
Budget?
Yeah.
That's true, okay.
What do you
Just
say,
make
Howard?
Get in here then.
Nothing. Not saying anything.
Is there anything else to come before the finance committee under old or new business, or anything anybody can think of? I'll accept a motion to
So
adjourn.
moved.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion to adjourn from Mike and seconded by Dick. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you
I
very
can't
much.
vote.